I'm Holden Ruck from the Falcon Media Sports Network, and today I'm here with Vice President for Athletic Strategy and Director of Athletics, Derek Vandermeer. Pleased to have you here.
Hey, thank you very much for the opportunity.
So first off, I just want to start with BGSU One Day because that happened really recently. A record-setting success for athletics on One Day. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, as a lot of things that are happening in this department, we're building on momentum. We're really looking at how do we continue to innovate and how do we continue to grow not only our base, but the volume of support coming from that base. I'm just really proud of all of our departments and our student athletes because they're all part of the mission of growth and they're supporting it directly by how they're communicating, how they're responding and achieving success both in the classroom and on the field of competition. This is growing the narrative of the direction of Bowling Green athletics and encouraging people from around the country to support. 3 years ago, we were looking at 300,000, total dollars raised. Now eclipsing $1 million, it just is a great indication of the direction and momentum of the department.
Yeah, I mean, a stark difference between those numbers, and you can see that, the balance of both classroom and on-field success, I think, quite well with Stellar Field. You look at a field with grand slams getting hit over it by players who helped design the wall, but, talk about like the support of, community and boosters to, raise the kind of money that make a field like that happen.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's been immense to see the volume of people step forward. I recall when I first arrived here and we looked at our core base and we said, how do we grow that base? And we've grown it over 100% of people that are giving and supporting and being part of the success. But I think if you were to talk to that community about what inspires them, this last year we won the Institutional Academic Achievement Award for the top overall academic performing institution in the Mid-American Conference. That's a statement to the direction and commitment that we have as a department that, yes, we want great athletic success. We're going to drive toward that in a very difficult and changing landscape of higher education. But how we're going to do it is making sure that we have outstanding students that truly reflect and value this community. And our community, as we look at it as being the faculty, the staff, that come to Bowling Green every day, and our students who come and are part of a great environment that they really value, that we're all working together collaboratively to elevate the experience of all students. And I think that mission then kind of bleeds into our local community that is so supportive, that is helping us. It's all hands on deck, and that is what's driving and motivating change.
Yeah, and you've been here since October of 2022, and it feels like there's been a really strong increase since that time. This has always been a community that's really showed out for its teams. Football and hockey especially are big fan favorites in Bowling Green, but how have you seen that community support increase in your time here, and how have you, acted or directed to make that change?
Well, I think it's quite simple, is that whenever you're interacting with your key stakeholders, your donors, your fans, your supporters, your businesses, if they feel that the relationship is transactional, that we're asking you to come and participate in this and just buy the ticket or just check the box, you're never going to grow. I want individuals that are associated with Bowling Green Athletics to feel that it's a relationship. I want our coaches to be accessible. I want our student athletes to truly value our community and support the community. I want people to feel like we are a family. And I think that that's the only way to be transformational. And the things that we're trying to introduce, the things that we're working to improve, is that connection and relationship. And I think we've effectively done it. I think there's plenty of room for improvement. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. I'm not satisfied with where we're at because ultimately, I want to win championships. And I think that we're in the process of winning championships in all of our sports. And the process doesn't reflect necessarily that we're playing for it this year, but we understand the steps in each of our programs, that what it's going to take to get there. Some roads are a little bit longer than others, but it starts with the behavior of a staff and our student athletes that are firmly committed to the academic mission of the institution, and then we build culturally and we build communities around each one of our programs in order to build programs that have great success. That's what translates into greater involvement, engagement, our fans' willingness to participate and be a part of that experience and journey with us.
Yeah, and if you look across the programs at Bowling Green, it feels like there's a lot of them that have maybe been down but are trending up right now. But when you're in those difficult times where a program's maybe struggling competitively a little bit, how do you still continue to sell that vision effectively? I think some people have kind of a narrow frame of mind of they want to, be on it when it's winning. They want to see them succeeding, and it's a little harder to support if they're not. How do you sell that vision?
Well, I think that there are metrics of success that lead winning. And so if you focus on just that W, and that is the thing that's driving you, you're going to be disappointed because you're going to fail to see the progress and the growth in programs. So what I try to do is draw attention to progress. I really am all the time trying to say what's happening in that particular program that to me is indicative that we're heading in the right direction. Sometimes it's great academic success. When you look at our overall GPA of being a 3.5 cumulative GPA, are we bringing the type of students that are wired for success? Because success is holistic. It's not going to be achieved in just one aspect of a program. It's a discipline. It's a behavior that's indicative of the direction of what you're going. The coaches, are they truly committed to building a fan base? What leads success? Is it that you have to win in order to have a fan base? No, you build your fan base day in and day out before you achieve success. Then when you do achieve success, your stands are filled with individuals that believe in the mission. Are they truly making people part of the journey? So that's what I'm looking for. I'm fine to point to those things and really celebrate those things, because what you see is that behavior is what generates the outcome. It's not the other way around.
Yeah, and I think you look at crowds like hockey against Ohio State, football against Toledo in particular, volleyball against Ohio State last season. And I think that really reflects what you're saying there. I want to pivot a little bit and talk about the Ziggy Awards. When you first got to Bowling Green, what was your, kind of bringing on process, and what was your impression of the awards as they existed?
Well, I think it was a great celebration of us internally. And by that I mean is that we were effectively identifying and celebrating the success of our student athletes and recognizing the accomplishments. But I really wanted to make it a community experience. And how do we amplify that? I think our partnership with Falcon Sports Media has been a great example of how do we amplify that voice and expand that voice and reach of that voice. And I think that's the change I wanted to bring into it. Breathe into it a little bit more of a festive experience, making sure that we're telling that story, that we're really exposing it to a broader community and having other stakeholders that get to be a part of that experience.
And, how have you taken steps to try to engage, more with the community, especially in the time that you've been involved with it?
I think it's, there's the little things like, us participating in holiday parades. It's all of our outreach initiatives to the schools or engagement where our teams go out and speak to groups, and it's Firefly Nights, making sure that our coaches and our student athletes and Rally BG, that we participate, that our community sees us as an active participant in their success. We host a chamber event at the start of the football season where it's hosted by athletics, and we have all these different people from around the community and the businesses come and participate and hear the story of what we're trying to build here. I think it's intentionality. I think being very intentional about making sure that people know that this is our community and that we own that experience and that we're a participant in the success of Bowling Green.
Yeah, it definitely feels like kind of a unique experience to Bowling Green. Talking a little bit more about the Ziggies in particular, one of the awards that's going to be handed out this year on April 22nd when the awards happen is the Moment of the Year. We've got 3 finalists for that, and I want your opinion on which is your favorite for Moment of the Year. We've got winning over Ohio State in front of a sold-out crowd at the Slater, Bowling Green's comeback win at home against Toledo, or the outdoor track and field team winning the title to kind of complete their sweep.
I am not going to pick one. Because I can say that all 3 of those are very, very important experiences for me personally. I'll start with track and field. I really am proud of what this team has done. This is a team, and Lou Snelling is one of our longest-serving coaches here at Bowling Green. He built this program up. His story is that the first year that he was here, they scored 1 point in the MAC championship, and he's built this program to a perennial powerhouse that's competing every year. Even this year, again, was for the indoor championship was, within the last hour, we're competing for the top spot. I can't say enough about that program, and I can tell you that is truly an amazing moment. Probably one of the most proud that I will be of a program. And I always put championships experiences above everything else. So I'm going to start with track and field. I'm not going to rank them, but I'm going to tell you what, championships are important. And that program truly understands that and has built a culture around success. But you can't minimize that experience against Toledo. Second win against Toledo, to do it at home, to have the crowd that we did that day, and then the story within the story, the actual game itself, and how things were, sort of managed throughout the game. Where you're down 21, you got to figure out how to come back and have that monumental win. An amazing story, amazing day. One that I'll never ever forget that experience. And then that, obviously, I always say the story's bigger than just the game itself. Hiring Eddie, trying to build a roster last minute, trying to put all the pieces in place, trying to get to a season, and then getting that Toledo win. You have Dennis Williams on the flip side, who has really looked at the landscape of college sports, sees it's changing, trying to maximize, rebuild, takes a team, now one of the youngest teams in Division I hockey, and building it for success. It's a great story. Yeah, great win over Ohio State, but it's more the journey of how we got there and why we had that success, which is a bigger part of that, and that's the part I celebrate. So you have three great journeys, three great stories. I'm very proud of those programs. It's going to be a tough one for everybody to decide, how we're going to vote on that one. So.
Yeah, definitely very deserving moments for all three of those. Talking a little bit, you mentioned how the community and the donors, you want everyone to feel like family, and I think a lot of Bowling Green does kind of embrace that mindset. But as you mentioned, it is a rapidly changing landscape of both athletics and higher education. And, in particular, Bowling Green has also had plenty of, national spotlight. You look at things like Harold Fannin getting drafted into the NFL, the virality of a cat, of course, high profile hires like Coach Eddie George and Coach Dennis Williams. How do you manage the balance between, receiving that kind of national attention and the floods of people coming in versus still kind of maintaining that, family culture?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that, we are in higher education. But sports and college is an entertainment industry. It really is. And the entertainment industry is about great stories. Pudge is a great story. It was a viral moment, but I think the story behind George Carlson, the death of his mother, the purpose of the cat in his personal life, being there for him, it coming into a locker room during a difficult preseason period, and then the story growing out of that. That's what makes it great, and nothing like that connects people to a department and to a community, and to student athletes and to the culture of what we're trying to build bigger than great stories. Our student athletes are great stories, there's so many of them, and they come from very unique backgrounds and have unique experiences and challenges, and they come to Bowling Green and they thrive. We have to tell those great stories, and those great stories help our community see that we're human. That it's about the humanity of it all. That opportunity to engage and experience and be a part of the journey of our student athletes is the greatest thing that we do. And the true personal connection to our community is the asset that makes us strong.
I think successful coaches across, kind of any sport, they can have different looks to them. Some of the more intense types, some of them, there's a lot of different styles that can be successful. What kind of things do you look for specifically, whether retaining or hiring new coaches that kind of match the ethos that you're trying to elevate here at Bowling Green?
There's some metrics that I think are really important, but I will start with one. One is their ability to understand relationships and understand people. It is, a great coach has to be able to motivate, which demands understanding. On a football team, 105 guys on a football team, each one of them is unique and has an individual walk and journey, and you have to be able to connect with them and manage that and inspire them and to encourage them and to hold them accountable and to battle with them. It's that fight off the field that really defines the success on the field. Great leaders understand that relationship. They also understand that when you're recruiting athletes, that sometimes it's just not the kid you have to convince, the prospect. You have to convince the coaches and the parents and the families and the community around them that this is the right decision. So they understand that relationships are like this individual ecosystems, and that understanding it's not a one-to-one. It's understanding what motivates you and what pulls you to want to support us. And I think that that approach is not just about coaches, it's about the entire staff too. It's understanding the ecosystem and the decision trees that impact positive outcomes. And I think coaches that are very astute on relationships and understand the power of relationships and leverage those relationships, not for any other purpose than to serve the authentic purpose of building great people. I mean, that's what the motivator. It's not about my success. It's not about my mission. It's not about me being, recognized. It's about our community seeing the value of the journey of doing great things together, and we're all contributing to that mission. When we all understand that opportunities are endless. And we've seen that even in, you look at football as a great example of, we're going through a very difficult changing landscape with rev share and NIL, and how do you build a team and how do you recruit our men's basketball that has to flip an entire roster in 1 year? How are we able to effectively and successfully do that when so many other people have not been able to do that? And that's purely because of relationships and the extended network of donors, alum, and supporters around the country that we've developed really meaningful relationships with that truly value Bowling Green and are trying to support our successful outcomes. We can't solve that on our own. None of this, we do not have the capacity to solve the big problems here at Bowling Green in our own box. We have to find great partners to help us do that. And we're doing that effectively. And there's no greater partner for us than our own students on campus. If we don't value their experience and their journey, and they're not engaged in the success of putting 6,000, 7,000 people in a football stadium, how does that impact recruiting? Because our recruits come to campus, they're choosing Bowling Green because of the support of our campus community, because they can see 7,000 students that truly care about what happens here on a Saturday. Once again, you understand the connections, the relationships that are driving decisions, and those decisions are being impacted by the commitment to us because they all see and feel that momentum. It doesn't start with one relationship. It starts with making sure that we're out there and we're building a network of relationships that are supporting the success of what we're trying to achieve.
And, in terms of supporting the success of what you're trying to achieve, to your point, the university itself has had record freshman classes for multiple years in a row. I mean, how do you see the overlap between, the growing athletic success and, just the overall enrollment and prosperous nature of, Bowling Green over the last few years as a university?
So we have a strategic plan in our department, and point one on that strategic plan is our commitment to the growth and success of the university. That takes precedent over anything else. It is the thing that we talk about at every single staff meeting. Is our number one mission in athletics is to support the success of the university. It's not us winning championships. It's not us receiving recognition. It's not about athletics, and its success. It's about the university's success. We live and we exist solely to support the success of Bowling Green State University. When we're able to help create a culture and a community where students choose to come here because we have added so much value to the experience, then we're doing our job. Is success part of that? Is championships part of that? Absolutely. I'm not minimizing that we want to win, but it's not at the cost of Bowling Green. It's to support the success of Bowling Green, and we will be structured and financed and supported, and we'll continue to manage how we act in our campus community as long as it's helping Bowling Green to be successful, and that will be our sole measure. And all the other things are just things that we're responsible to manage in order to support the success of our student experience, and that's the only time that we'll know that we're doing things the right way. So the overlap is simple. That Bowling Green success is the priority. We live and exist to support that outcome.
One thing that's a little bit less serious, but certainly on the minds of, people in the Bowling Green community as a staple of Bowling Green success, at least in athletic terms, is, the spirit of competitiveness, in particular with, rivals like Toledo. As far as I can see, over the time you've been here, Bowling Green has competed with Toledo, in every measure that they can. How have you seen that rivalry be, successful, or, how much of an emphasis point has that been?
It's everything. This rivalries. I played in rivalries when I was in college. I think that those rivalries are things that to this day I still have. I relished, I enjoyed. It inspired me a point of focus Toledo is a great point of focus. I'd say to all of our coaches, that's a non-negotiable. We have to win that. They get a lot of pressure from me before we play those games, but I think it's something that we all rally around. It's something that we are taking a great deal of pride in and ensuring that we're building programs that can beat Toledo. Let's beat Toledo. Let's win MAC championships. But Toledo's first on that pecking order. We can look at a lot of things that we may be disappointed about, but if we can walk away with a win over Toledo, we're going to have our heads held high for another year.
Is there anything, whether it's specific or broad, anything over your time here that you're still really hung up on? Man, this really needs to get better, or any areas where you feel like, oh man, I wish I had done this differently?
Yeah, I would focus on things sometimes the greatest failures are, you learn a lot from it. I think that, there's nothing that I get too hung up on. What I look at is how do we get better? How do we improve it? I think I'm willing to take big risks and then see if, and evaluate if I've made the right decision, but be willing to make change if I've made a mistake. But I would say the biggest opportunity is that I don't think we've scratched the surface on our opportunity to grow in fundraising, our opportunity to make substantive change and impact with our corporate sponsors, our chance to continue to grow the ecosystems around our sport programs, because we've only started to really see the benefits of a couple years of really ensuring that our coaches prioritize the development of those ecosystems, and we're starting to see a big rate of return on that. But I think that we haven't even scratched the surface on our opportunities for growth in those areas, and being very intentional about how do we make our local community and our expanded community in the region are really a part of our game day experience. I think we have plenty of chance to improve our game day experience. That's something that I'm going to really focus on this summer. Coming back, I really want to see growth in basketball attendance. Hockey is humming. I think I'm really proud of the direction of hockey is taking it. We had a great year in football, but now I'm starting to look at some of the other sports that I really have the expectation that we change some things in order to enhance our fan experience and really provide a better opportunity for them to enjoy that as well.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on being happy with the success but never satisfied. But say you weren't the athletic director. Say many years from now you're retired, whatever it may be. What are you going to look back on, at least as of now through your tenure, as a big point of pride?
I don't have any reflection on anything right now that I would sit there and say is a point of pride, because I'm so focused on improvement. I think it's really hard to have that point of reflection until that time comes. I'll just leave it there. I've got to get to that point because I feel like even with the things that I'm happy about, directional movement, I've got a lot of work to do. We really have a lot of work to do here. And the team that we have here feels that sense of urgency and purpose. I don't think I'll have any sense of reflection until I reach that point where I've done everything I can do. I haven't done everything I can do yet. I've got a lot more work to do.
Job's never finished.
That's right. That's right.
Understandably. Anything else you want to add?
No. Thank you for the opportunity, and just thank you for the partnership. Falcon Sports Media has become a big part of our identity. Carl Smith, the advisor who works directly with the program, we talk about how Division I athletics has to become its own promotional and also media empire essentially within these departments, and we're not able to do that without the support of Falcon Sports Media. So thank you very much for all you've done for us.
Happy to.
All right.
Cool.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for joining us today. For more news, information, and updates, check out bgfalconmedia.com.